Attorney Alan Kagawa, who is with us. Alan, you nailed it with your analysis of where the defense was going in this case, and we learned a lot of details. How compelling do you think it was for the defense to highlight that the client is simple, he's not complicated, he's got a boring life, and he was gaslit in that incident before this shooting?
Oh, I think that's incredibly important. I think this particular defense attorney, Ms. Dominguez, is incredibly smart. She knows that it's not worth disputing that there was a shooting. Everything is captured on surveillance. By going and focusing solely on the mental state, what this does is this ultimately can reduce this from a murder to a manslaughter, basically a lesser form of killing, by focusing on the fact that that he was a simple man who did not have any sort of complex plans, was potentially not fully aware of his actions at the time. That all goes against the idea that this is a formal murder where someone planned, where someone purposefully took the time to think this through and to consciously take someone's life away.
Alan, how do you think the prosecution will work with that now after the defense counsel said that in the presentation of the evidence? As Julia mentioned, there was a situation where the defendant felt that he was being lied to. He felt he caught them in the act, and then they convinced him that that wasn't what he actually saw. It seems that maybe he did see something. How is the prosecution going to work with that?
That's an excellent point. I think in this particular case, I think what the prosecution, while they might focus on that a little bit, I think a big focus was going to be on something that Court TV picked up a little while ago, which is that it looked like there were a couple shots after Patricia had actually fallen to the ground. The big thing is that by shooting someone who is already on the ground, at that point, any sort of argument has ended, and that would potentially indicate that there was potentially more to this than just someone who's unaware of what's going on, but someone who actually wanted to go through and take someone's life away.
Oh, that's a really great point. And again, I know our viewers didn't get to see that video. We're going to edit it and be able to show what parts we can because it was so graphic in the nature of a shooting. But there were moments when he was shooting down at the ground, not only at the female victim, but also the male victim. So he's doing this after they've already hit the ground. And I think that can go against the defense of this mental state and him maybe just reacting in a way that was sudden. He's going to take the stand, Alan. That's usually not something we hear in opening statements, and it's a risk. Why do you think the defense is deciding to promise it to jurors so early?
Oh, it's a huge risk. And I think ultimately what the defense is gambling on is that ultimately this is entirely a mental state case. And in order to really figure out what the mental state is, there's really no option but to actually bring him on and have him testify. This is incredibly, incredibly risky because ultimately this all goes down to his credibility. And putting someone on the stand like this is a big gamble. But oftentimes when you're simply arguing that this is a mental state defense, the jury's going to want to see that person take the stand and really see what that person says their mental state was at the time.
Yeah, Alan, defense counsel was saying in the opening that he really wants to explain his reaction, what he was feeling, and he is the best person to get that from. So we'll have to see what happens, continue to follow this case. Alan, thank you so much for your excellent insight in this case. We're going to have more testimony in Michigan for a preliminary hearing that we've been following.